Hi there, and welcome to yet another episode of Baking with me in my kitchen space. And in today's video, we're going to bake a red velvet. So, without much further ado, let's get started. Here are my ingredients. I have milk. I also have baking powder, margarine, but you can also use unsalted butter. But when you use unsalted butter, you have to use salt. I have my cocoa powder. I'll be using 2 eggs, sugar. You can also use caster sugar, all-purpose flour. I'll also be using vanilla essence. Vanilla essence is used to kill the smell of the egg yolks. I'll also be using soda, baking soda, and 4L Pradip, red solution powder, and also using vinegar. So at this point, you've already preheated your oven to 180 degrees Celsius. So now we're first going to work on our dry ingredients. So first thing first, we have my all-purpose flour, which is already measured. So I'm going to sift it. And remember, we sift for aeration. I'm also going to add my cocoa powder. Remember, guys, I also have a small quantity of cocoa powder that I'm going to use it later to make the red Pradip solution. I'll be using my 4 grams of baking powder. You combine them all together. I'll also be using baking soda, and then we are going to sift them. So the reason as to why I'm using baking powder and baking soda at the same time is because we want an extra amount of acid, and that is what is required to make the red velvet cake so soft. That is why people confuse it to a sponge cake. So you sift your dry ingredients, and after sifting them, you mix them thoroughly. After that, you set them aside. The next thing that you want to do is you want to start by making your buttermilk. If you don't have a buttermilk, so we try to make a substitute. And you do this by adding some vinegar into your milk, around 5 ml. So, and this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to spoil the milk a little bit so we can make this highly acidic. So you're going to stir your milk and then you set it aside to let it mature. So once you've set aside your buttermilk to let it mature, you're also going to take another small bowl and you're going to now make the red paste. Seems a little bit complex since you're doing so many things, setting them aside before we combine them all together. So in a separate bowl, we're going to add water, a half tablespoon of water. We're also going to add our red Pradip 4L powder. You're going to mix it, and you're also going to add vinegar 5 ml and stir. You're also going to add cocoa powder, the small quantity, it's 3 grams, and then you're going to make a paste. So you stir until everything is well combined, and then you're going to set it aside. Continue stirring until everything is well combined. We need that soft red paste, so we're going to use it later when we've already made our cake batter. The red velvet seems a little bit complex to prepare since you have to do very small things, setting aside before combining them all. But don't worry, we're gonna be there. So once your Pradip solution is ready, you set it aside. In another separate bowl, you take your 2 eggs, you beat them, break and beat them. You're also going to add your 5 ml vanilla essence. The vanilla essence, it kills the smell of the egg yolks. So we are going to whisk or beat until you can see some bubbling, and then you're also going to set it aside. At this point, you're going to take your large bowl and you're going to soften your already measured butter or margarine. So you whisk it up until it becomes soft, and after that, you're going to add in your sugar. Remember, this is a butter cake, so we're going to use the creaming and the folding method. So we are going to cream our sugar. So you're going to take a whisk and you're going to cream it until it's somehow whitish and creamy. So you cream it for about a minute or two until you get that creamy solution. So for me, I'm going to use a whisk, and then I'm going to use maybe a spatula later to see if the mixture is creamy and whitish. I think around something like pale yellow. So once you're done, they're creamy. You're also going to add your eggs. You're going to add your eggs and you're going to mix them or combine them until they are well incorporated. You have to get something like a soap kind of thing, eh? So as you can see, we have our whitish and creamy solution. And the next thing that you're going to do, the eggs that you had already cracked and beaten and added the vanilla essence, you're going now to pour it in this creamy solution, and you're going to combine it properly until well combined. So you do that for about a minute or two, depending on what you're using. You can either use a whisk, or you can either use an electric hand mixer. So you whisk it up all up until everything is well combined. Should not be too runny, should not be curdled. It should be like, basically it's going to look like a soup. So once you're done, you're going to set it aside, and by now we've already worked with our wet ingredients. So that's it, guys. As you can see, it's the whitish creamy solution that you've already added your milk, and that's it. So we're going to set it aside, and now we're also going now to incorporate our dry ingredients. Yeah, our dry ingredients. But first, we will remember the red Pradip solution that we prepared there. So we are going to incorporate it there, and we're going to mix until everything is well incorporated. You can add a little bit of milk into the bowl that had the paste and stir. Then use it first when adding milk into the cream mixture, so you are able to get all the color paste. So you mix until now you get something like not so red solution, and that's it. So at this point, now it's when you're going to add in our dry ingredients. And remember, we're using the creaming and the folding method. So use your half dry ingredients first. You can either use a whisk or a spatula or an electric mixer, but I'm using a spatula because I'm doing the folding method. So you fold everything until everything is well incorporated. You scrape the sides. Do this for about a minute or so until everything is well incorporated. So as you can see, guys, it's turning out to be so beautiful. It looks red. Second, you're going to add now your remaining dry ingredient, and you're going to continue with the folding process. So you continue folding. We're using the number 8 method. You fold until everything is well incorporated. You can also add your milk gradually. Don't add everything, just add it gradually so that it doesn't become too runny or too sticky. It should be around 2 to 3 drop consistency. So you continue folding. As you can see, guys, the way it's coming out, you fold until everything is well incorporated. So at this point, remember your oven is still preheating to 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit. But if you're going to use the fan assistance, you can bake it at around 160 degrees Celsius, because when you tend to use the fan with 180 degrees Celsius, it tends to be too hot and the cake will get a little bit baked. So, and also remember that you've already prepared your pan. So we are going to now because we're making a half kg cake, we're going to use a kitchen digital scale and measure. It should be around 500 and above, but not more than that. So we're going to pour in our cake batter. As you can see, guys, it looks red and it's well combined, doesn't have lumps, it's just so smooth. And you're going to bake it for around 40 to 45 minutes. So this is a half kg. And if you want to use cupcakes, you can use cupcakes. It's so half kg is equivalent to maybe around 24 cupcakes. Yeah, no, sorry, 12 cupcakes. So make sure that you scrape everything off so that you don't leave a lot of cake batter. So guys, as you can see, it looks so nice. It looks so that red color. It's not that dark red color because remember we added our cocoa powder. So now you're going to make the sides even, and after that, now the cake is ready to put it in the oven. Here it's already baked after around 45 minutes. Put in your skewer and it should come out clean. So after 5 minutes of cooling, you can remove it from the cake pan and place it on a plate. And then you're going to remove our parchment paper. You can either use a parchment paper or maybe you can use cake goop to apply on the sides of the bowl so that the cake does not stick. Cake from the cake pan or cake mold. No, you can remove the parchment paper and let it cool for about 1 to 2 hours. You can cool it on a plate or a cooling rack. But since I don't have a cooling rack, so I'm going to use a plate. So the cake, you can see there's some brown and red color, not so red. And that's it. So I'm going to remove the parchment paper at the bottom, and then I'm going to cut so that we can see how the inside looks. So let's cut and see how the inside looks like. This is one cake that it should be so soft because we used some acid in it. Remember, we made the buttermilk and we also used the baking soda, which is also an acid. So guys, as you can see, the cake is soft. It's already baked. It's so red, and you can also see there's some chocolate in it because you also use the chocolate cocoa powder, and the taste is so heavenly. So this is one recipe that you can try in your kitchen. You can also wrap it up with a cling film and store it in your fridge because when you keep it in the fridge like that, it tends to absorb some smell. So guys, kindly try this in your kitchen and you're gonna enjoy it. So if you tend to like my video, kindly give them a thumbs up, like, share, and kindly subscribe. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much. Until next time, guys, peace.